Alright everyone, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Today I've got another little special episode for you. Today I'm gonna teach you how to use the shake effect. And yes, I know I've talked about this before in one of my first tutorials, where I quickly gloss over the shake effects, make the animation go up and down, and that's basically it. Today I'm gonna show you how to get a little bit more advanced with it. So what I want to do today is I want to make this character, Syndra, animated. All of it. I want to have her entire body animated, I want to have her arms move in a separate direction, I want to have her move her head in a separate direction and have the orbs follow through. This sounds like a lot of work, but in fact we only need 4 shake layers, as shown right here. Now, to make this video a little bit shorter, I am gonna cheat. I have already drawn the shake mask, now I'm just gonna export them. Alright, so first up, the most important thing of having multiple shake layers or multiple shake effects affect the same layer is the order of the effects is important. I want to mention this real quickly before we begin, because a lot of issues can rise up if your order is wrong. So generally the rule of thumb is the larger the shake mask is, the larger, or let's just say the more moves, the lower you want it to be on the effects bottom. For example, I've got 4 effects here. I've got one for the entire body, which will cover the orbs and Syndra entirely. I've got one that will cover only the left arm, one that will cover only the right arm, and one that will cover only the head. The body needs to be below, because a lot of different effects will be played on top of the body effect. So we want to make sure that they're actually played on top of the body effect that's being moved. So that's basically the process behind it. Alright, so let's get started into it. First up, we got our shake effect. It's completely empty for here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna import the shake effect, the mask that I've painted earlier. Open it up, import, make sure you do not tick this setting, otherwise the size of your wallpaper will actually be adjusted to the size of this mask, and then the size will completely mess up your project usually. So don't adjust this unless you want to, and generally you don't want to. So leave this unticked, just don't press anything but OK. You'll notice that once you go over the paint, the entire mask has already been painted, because we imported one on top of it. That's good. So next up we want to take our shake direction. Well, let's just make it go up. I'm not gonna make a very smooth and clean animation, because I want this video to be quite quickly. Normally, if you want to do this process completely right, to get a smooth and clean animation as possible, it'll take up a few hours, and I don't intend to do that. So I'll make a very rough video explaining the basics. Normally I would adjust the strength of the shake effect within this layer as well, but I'm not going to do that for for the purposes of this video. Alright, so next up is a neat little trick. If you're gonna have multiple shake effects affecting the same part of your wallpaper, you also want them to have the same speed. You can manually type in your speeds here, set it to 1 or to 2 or to 3, but that's a little bit obnoxious if you have to do it for every single shake effect that you have. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna press this cogwheel button, press bind user property, press add property, and we'll get a slider. Now, first we're gonna first we'll need to name it, so I'm just gonna call it Syndra movement speed, as it's the movement speed of the Syndra animation. I'm gonna give it the default value of 1.25, because I just like these settings, the minimum value of 0.5 and a maximum value of 1.5. Press OK, press close, and it's automatically assigned. Now what this does is this applies a slider that the user who has downloaded your wallpaper can use to adjust the speed of the wallpaper given between the settings you've provided for him. Meaning that when once your wallpaper has been downloaded, it will have the default movement speed setting of 1.25, and the user can set it anywhere between 0.5 and 1.5. These values are up to you to decide what the minimum and the maximum is. Now, the beauty of this is that you can say, for example, we've set the body shake, we've entered the speed to it, we've created an animation. Now, for example, we want to go to the left arm. How do we do this? Well, we could set here 1.25 manually, or bind user property, press this button here to create the link between this value, press close, and voila! Now the speed between the body shake and the left arm shake, they are the exact same value, and with bonus that the user who has downloaded your wallpaper can adjust it to his or her liking. So I'm gonna do this for all shake effects that I have quite quickly. Otherwise you might end up having one shake effect move way quicker than the other because the user has decided to increase movement speed, but something else will be left out. Also, it makes it easier so you don't have to manually type the movement speed every single time you want to add one. Alright, so that's how you make sure all shake effects line up with the same movement speed. So next up is we're gonna import or make the shake directions for everything. Make every effect move individually. We've already made the body shake effect move. We've got the speed setting, the strength, I'm not gonna touch it, and we've got it moving up and down. That's all we want for now. I'm just gonna press the I button, make it hidden to make it easier to have other effects. It's easier to animate effects or to add effects when the rest of the wallpaper isn't moving, because you know exactly what you're actually editing. We're gonna go to the left arm shake, and when we want to have this arm, the left arm, I know technically for her it's her right, but from my perspective it's the left. What we want to do is we want to have her arm go up and down. However, if we're gonna do this the same way that we would with her body, her shoulder would also be going up and down. So, to prove my point, if you were, for example, to do this... Oh, excuse me, I need to import the layer real quick. Left arm, import layer, I forgot about it real quickly, my bad. Say, if we're gonna go do this up and down, well, that just looks silly, doesn't it? I mean, sure, the arm is moving and it looks a little bit better, but this isn't really moving the way we want. Now, you can solve this by grabbing a lower value and then slightly adjusting it. That's too much effort. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the value to 255, set the size all the way to the maximum, and then on the bottom left here, there are, next to the arrow, two different types of applier of the shake mask you can select. We want to have the bottom one, because the bottom one creates a twist. It makes it go around. So if we were to apply this, for example, on this shake effect, and we apply it on the shoulder, because that's where most of the movement will originate, you just have to press one single button, press OK, and you've got this type of animation. Now, if it's too slight, because usually if you make a circular animation, the strength is quite low, just increase the strength over here, add like 0.04 to it, and voila, we've got a circular arm animation. Now, I'm gonna do this quickly for the rest of the shake effects as well. So, I'm gonna do this for the right arm. Import it. There you go. I want the balls of water or whatever it is to also move with the arm. So, what we're gonna do is gonna go to the shake effect, grab her shoulder, slide a little bit to the right so I make sure I grab everything. Then I want these to move as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab them right here in the middle. And this looks quite nice, doesn't it? Everything's moving in the same direction. In this, it's making this flowing direction. Alright, so I'm gonna increase the strength a little bit again. Right, this looks quite nice. So, onwards to the final one, to the head. So let's import the head mask. And do the same thing. Once again, circular motion and right on top of her neck. Alright, so now we've got all animations flowing. We've got them all working individually, so let's see what they look like together. Well, if there's only one word there's only one word I can think of how this looks, and that's stiff. The animations are definitely there, but they're not really flowing. So, how do we fix this? Quite simple. First up, the first thing we're going to use is the time offset. Now you may have toyed with this setting before, or you may not. That's up to you. But this basically creates a delay in your animation. 255 is the default speed. But for example, if I were to set 160 or 160 or around that, grab a small size and just, for example, I want this orb to move slower. I just paint over it, and suddenly we've created a delay. And the delay, the size of the delay is based on the value that you've painted over on top of it. I know, professional tutorial making here. So if we want to, for example, make it a very short delay, we'll set this value to 230. And now there's a distinct slight delay between the Syndra going up and down and this orb, while still the exact same effect. So let's say we apply this for every single one of our orbs, make it just a slight adjustment, like maybe a difference of 10 or 15 between each orb. I put this one to 240. Alright, so now we've got the orbs sort of gliding alongside with the movements of Syndra. That looks much better in my opinion. Alright, now you can achieve this with the hair as well. Just add a bit of a delay on top of it, though you want to have it be a gradual delay. So you want to start with a low value, and the closer you get towards the head, you want to increase the value. There we go. Now I know for tutorial purposes and lengthy video purposes I'm not gonna do this for the right side as well, but it's basically the same process. Alright, so now we've created it for this shake effect. So let's see if we add the rest on top of it. Well, it's still a little stiff, but this looks much better, doesn't it? So let's do that for the others as well. I'm gonna turn every single effect off again, and I'm gonna turn these individual twist effects back on. Now what we want to do is we have the body shake setting of the time offset of everything that's not an orb. It's still on around 255, and you need to keep that number in mind, because you're gonna base the rest of the delays of the rest of the shake effects based on top of the speed of your regular body shake. Meaning that if I want to create a delay of, let's say, 15 or a value of 20, we need to subtract that 20 from a certain specified value, and that certain specified value will in our case be 255, the maximum value, because that's what our main body value is still at. So what we're going to do is, usually I like to default back to 227 because I just like that setting. Then we're just gonna paint on top of this and press OK. Done. That's all you need to do. Then we're gonna go to the next shake effect, to the right arm, and we're gonna do the same thing. And just for the because it looks nice, I'm gonna add a bit of a bigger delay between the orbs. You don't want to have it too big. Just add a little bit more. Right, there we go. Now we've got the orbs basically flowing with the movement of this arm as well. So they're not flowing up and down, but also from left to right with the twist animation of this arm. And finally, we're gonna go to the head shake and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go to 272, grab a large size brush, paint all over it, and press OK. Now, if we were to go and activate the body shake again, the animation looks much less stiff, but much more flowing, or smooth in my opinion. Now, you will see things like this happening. What's happening here is basically that your body shake only says that this animation can play between this confined space. However, because of our left arm shake, it goes around this as well. But there's no actual space for the regular body shake to move there, and because of the time offset it's not happening at the same time, so it's not hidden anymore. So how do we fix this? Quite simply, we go to the body shake and we increase the area that it may use. You're gonna see this a lot, so I wanted to throw this in real quickly how to fix this. Sometimes it's not the body shake, sometimes it may also be the left arm shake. So you kind of want to try with each settings, increase the size of each one. Because for example, right here is a good example. We fixed the body shake size, but there's still a little bit of a distortion here, despite it having enough room. But the problem is this time in the left arm shake. So we want to make sure both shake effects have enough size to move around with. This can be quite tricky from time to time, so this is why I mentioned earlier that it takes multiple hours to get this right, and why I drew the shake effects beforehand quite quickly. Alright, but let's say there's another one last thing I want to mention with the time offset, because if you were to look at these arms right now, sure, they're both moving in the direction that I want to, but they're flowing in the same direction at the same time, despite having a time offset. How do I fix this? Well, the beauty of the time offset is that it's not necessarily a value set between 0 and 1 for the speed, for example. You also can go to the left arm, grab the time offset. Now remember, for our right arm we use the offset of a value of 227. Now, basically subtract around the half of it. Let's say we'll end up with 106, or just let's grab 105 because it's a nice number. Paint all the way on top of it and it will mirror this animation. So now we actually have the same speed, the same direction, but because we've changed the delay in their animation so much to the point that when one animation is at its upper size, the other one is at its lower. And therefore you're actually getting the arms to move in the same direction, whilst the shake direction is exactly the same. So that's how you can toy with the time offset and create a big delay in your animation. Now there's one last thing I wanted to leave, because I didn't really want to make a video for this on its own, and it's a nice and useful trick, because before I mentioned, also in my first tutorial, I mentioned that you are gonna get, if you use the shake effect, you are gonna get a few glitches with the background moving with you or not. So, for example, this right here. This is staying still, it's creating duplicates and everything, but if you were to zoom out and look at the entire picture, you wouldn't really notice it that quickly. You can, as a matter of fact, use the bounce values to have your animation suspended in the top side or the bottom side of the animation. In this case, for example, we're going up and down. So let's say if we want to have our animation stop at the utmost point where it's at the top cycle of its animation, we would set the bounce to -1 on X and -1 on Y. This will set the animation to its lowest point. Set the Y to 0, always leave the bounce of X to -1 if you want to do this. Set the Y to 0 and we'll show it at its utmost top moment of the animation. This allows you to quite easily discern or distinguish these small types of glitches, because for example, if we were just look at the animation right now, or we're gonna leave it default. If you were to look, like maybe let's look at this animation go for like 10 seconds. How many small errors or how many errors that exist because of the shake effect would you be able to recognize? Because the animation is flowing and some might only be there for a split second, it can be hard to distinguish them. However, if you freeze them in time, you can actually notice that they're quite noticeable. Over here, the hair, not enough room, not enough breathing room. Over here, not enough room. Here, not enough room. Also here, need to add more of the mask. We need to increase that size. Over here we can see it happening. Over here we can see it happening. Over here just a little bit. We can see it over here happening quite easily. Here as well. And now let's say we've done this side, we want to make sure that on the bottom side it also works. We set this back to -1, and then we can watch all of them again. So let's see if we can find some here as well. Over here, looks like there's a small distortion. Let's see, this one is much more noticeable right now. Normally this would be flowing. If I turn this effect off, it's a straight line, but if I turn it on, this is basically what it looks like at the lowest point of our animation. Same goes for here. And once you've all noticed them, how do you fix them? Simple. Grab your opacity mask and paint over it. Voila. And then once you've done all that, once you're satisfied with the result, how it looks, you're never gonna get it 100% clean. You need to accept that. But once you're satisfied with the results, set the bounds back to 0 on X and 1 on Y to create your basic animation again. And then you've created a smooth, combined, of course, if you combine it with multiple effects, you'll have created a quite smooth flowing animation where every single body part, mainly the arms, the head, and the legs, you can create a separate animation for every one of them, whilst simultaneously being linked to create a smooth animation and make it less stiff. And well, that's basically it for today. I don't have much more to mention about this, I think. So I'll see you all next time. And if you need help with this, which I can imagine it'll probably take a few times or a few tries to toy around with this to get a hang of it. But if you still can't make it work, please do leave a comment. I do read almost all of them. YouTube does have a quite useful tool to help you read all comments. And if I miss some, just keep repeating them and I'll get back to it. And happy wallpapering!